Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a pretty wild economic mystery, the case of the missing millennial homebuyer. For years, right? For literally years, millennials were the absolute heavyweight champions of the real estate market. But suddenly, it's like they've just vanished from closing tables nationwide. So who swooped in to take their place, and why on earth is this happening right now? Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this because the numbers here are frankly staggering. According to the National Association of Realtors' latest Generational Trends report, looking at mid-2023 to mid-2024, the gap is just massive. Baby boomers are gobbling up 42% of the market. Meanwhile, millennials, they've shrunk down to just 29%. Gen X is kind of sandwiched in the middle at 24%, and Gen Z is barely even on the radar at 3%. So the script is completely flipped. Boomers have flat-out replaced millennials as the primary drivers of the housing market.
So, we are officially looking at the millennial housing mystery. To solve this puzzle and understand such a stark turnaround, we really need to investigate the crazy economic crosscurrents churning up the market today.
Hannah Jones, a senior economic research analyst over at Realtor.com, really hit the nail on the head here. The market has fundamentally shifted toward higher-priced homes, period. Entry-level buyers are just getting priced out. You literally have to bring near-record high down payments to the table today. And look, you've got to empathize with the millennial struggle here. Poor affordability is completely stymieing first-time buyers. It's basically a massive brick wall standing between them and home ownership.
Which brings us to why cash is king. If the entry-level buyer is locked out, who's actually winning? Well, let's shift our focus to the prime suspects, the economic forces making cash the ultimate weapon.
Randy Snowden, the director of Member and Consumer Survey Research at NAR, points the finger at three main culprits. We're talking low inventory, high prices, and high interest rates. Put them together, and you've got a perfect storm. It's making it nearly impossible for younger buyers to squirrel away enough cash for those near-record high down payments we were just talking about.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark divide we're seeing right now. It's like a tale of two markets. The millennial reality is this daily, grueling struggle against high prices and rates just to scrape together a down payment using really expensive credit. But flip the coin, and the boomer reality is a whole different ballgame. With decades of built-up cash in the bank, they're completely bypassing financing and mortgages entirely. They are literally playing a totally different game on the exact same board.
And what's truly mind-blowing is the sheer scale of this cash phenomenon. Just listen to this from NAR Deputy Chief Economist Jessica Lautz. Half of older boomers, half, and 2 out of 5 younger boomers are buying homes 100% in cash. Think about that. This massive influx of cash buyers is fundamentally working against the traditional mortgage industry. And it is completely boxing out Gen Z, who are just starting out and have the lowest household incomes. Competing against all cash? It's basically impossible for them.
But, families aren't just throwing their hands up in defeat, they're getting creative. We're seeing multi-generational home purchases rising to 17% in 2025. That's up from 14% just last year. Different generations of family members are actually combining their resources to smash through these high barriers. Basically, they're pulling together to get under one roof. Because let's face it, going it alone just isn't an option for a lot of folks anymore.
Moving on to the coming senior housing crunch. This shifts our narrative to a looming demographic destiny that's going to heavily favor baby boomers for years to come. Let's walk through these demographic milestones from the U.S. Census Bureau because they're wild. First up, the oldest boomers turn 80 in under a year. Second, by 2030, that 80-plus population is going to surge by 4 million people, hitting 18.8 million. And that right there is the exact milestone when folks typically start looking for senior housing. Third, and this is the craziest part, by 2030, the over 65 population is projected to outnumber children for the very first time in U.S. history. From a pure numbers perspective, this wealthier, older generation is going to keep completely dictating the housing landscape. Eric Morton, CEO of the data service NIC Map, sums it up perfectly. He says, "We've never had a population pyramid that looks like this. I mean, it is completely unprecedented. And this demographic shift is forcing boomers to straddle two real estate fences at the exact same time. On one hand, they're snapping up smaller traditional homes for cash, and on the other, they're actively transitioning into senior living facilities."
And that dual demand is putting massive, massive pressure on the senior housing industry. To keep up, NIC MAP predicts that 560,000 new units are needed. To put that into perspective, the industry basically has to develop twice as many units as its historical maximum every single year, just to keep pace with the demand. That is a Herculean task.
Now let's look at alternative and shared investments.
Because with younger folks locked out of traditional homeownership, the market is opening up entirely new alternative entry points.
Take this data point, for example. Arrived Homes Private Credit Fund has historically paid an annualized dividend yield of 8.1%. This is super interesting context because it shows exactly how people are adapting. Since buying an actual house is so tough, people are aggressively hunting for alternative real estate returns, like jumping into pools of short-term loans backed by residential real estate instead.
So, the crucial point here is that the barrier to entry for real estate investment is dramatically lowering. The minimum to get into funds like the one we just mentioned? Just $100. $100! It's a fascinating dynamic. So even while physical, traditional homes are becoming impossibly expensive for your average millennial, the ability to invest in the idea of real estate has quite literally never been easier.
Which brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, the interest rate roller coaster. Because beyond all the demographics and cash buyers, volatile external triggers could still flip the whole board upside down again.
Let's track this economic chain reaction. Barron's recently noted that rising inventory and dropping rates could actually bring younger buyers back in. And for a second, there was real hope. By late March, year-over-year housing inventory had actually risen for 73 consecutive weeks. But, well, external events change markets. Following President Donald Trump's April 2nd announcement regarding Liberation Day tariffs, interest rates went on an absolute roller coaster ride. Right now, they sit at over 7%, the highest we've seen since mid-February. For younger buyers hoping to catch a break, it creates a pretty grim short-term outlook.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering question to ponder. If the economic winds finally shift, if rates drop and inventory keeps rising, will millennials actually be financially ready to step up and unlock the front door? Or is this undeniable demographic and economic shift cause the U.S. housing market to permanently age up? It's a massive question, and frankly, the answer is going to define our economy for the next decade. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer. I hope this deep dive helped clarify the wild shifts happening right in front of us. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.